What's going on, everyone? So, Neve Campbell has been reportedly cast as Polaris in the upcoming MCU. Polaris is Magneto's daughter in the comics, and this is confirmed at this point that Neve Campbell is officially going to be part of the MCU. Us Scream fans, which I'm assuming most, if not all of you watching this video are, because I've built this channel essentially on the back of Scream. But Neve Campbell being able to join the MCU, get that kind of recognition, right? Like that's kind of like the big cap, right? Like that's like, hey, you're in the big time now, right? Her to be able to go and play the character of Polaris, Lorna Dane. I imagine that this is very exciting for her. The potential in future. I do have some questions as far as like Scream goes, because Scream 8 we know is confirmed and in the works. So is this going to be something where, she's doing both? Is this something where, she's going to do Scream 8 and then go jump into this? Or is it something where she's going to do this and then do Scream 8? Does Spyglass and Paramount and everybody, they kind of push it all back because, she's going to go do the MCU in a Marvel film, right? A lot of kind of questions in that regard. But as far as the character itself, right? Not like a, super known front and center character, right? It's not like the usual X-Men where people are like, oh, the same old generic X-Men, right? But this is somebody that is related to Magneto. Magneto has fathered several children, right? But you have a character, you have an actress that we know that can portray it very well. You have somebody that's also, by the way, related to the Scarlet Witch in the comics. Obviously that's not going to happen now because Scarlet Witch isn't, Magneto's daughter in the MCU. But I'm curious to see how much are they going to change about her. How much are they going to adapt? How big of a role is she going to have? Right? Like, she's somebody that has, magnetic field manipulation, I believe energy absorption. She can fly. She can do all kinds of stuff, right? So I'm curious to see, is she going to be a big fixture in the upcoming X-Men movies and stuff like that? Or is this just kind of like just kind of one-off? You're going to be in a different universe. You're not going to be part of the 616 universe. And then, she ends up dying or whatever, and then that's that. Or does she end up actually becoming kind of a main fixture? Also, again, what does this do for the future of the Scream franchise? Right? If she ends up becoming a big part of like Marvel and the X-Men and stuff, and they actually have like a reoccurring role for her, or a big part in the transition of the X-Men into the MCU and all that, right? Like, what is that? How does that bode for Neve Campbell and the Scream franchise, right? Like, I think this potentially could run the risk of, her venture, because I mean, obviously, which pays more, which is, the bigger draw, right? There's a lot of questions in that regard, but I just think, like, with Marvel and the MCU and all the potential of films, and, do they eventually do like a Polaris spinoff film or series or whatever, especially the way that Marvel likes to pump out these series and these films and stuff. There's just a lot of questions in that regard. To where I'm curious if this is gonna have any. I mean, maybe it doesn't. It's very possible that nothing happens and she just plays the role and then is right back into business with just doing the Scream stuff. But I do have this kind of concern that, like, hey, we're going to start to see the transition of Sidney Prescott leaving the Scream franchise sooner rather than later, right? Because one of the things that I've talked about, like Scream related wise, is, that I think what'll happen, because they want to do this new trilogy. We know we got Scream 8 in the works and stuff, that what'll eventually end up happening is you're going to have the transition from Sidney Prescott into Tatum, right? That Tatum Prescott or Tatum Evans is going to eventually take over the mantle and be the face in forefront of the Scream universe, right? That she'll basically be the Sidney Prescott, and Sidney Prescott will kind of fade into the background. I still think that Neve will be in these films. I still think Neve will be, but as far as her being kind of the main focus, because the rumors are, obviously Scream 7's already done and filmed, but Scream 8 is supposed to be a Sidney focused film also. Well, now that Sidney's not, I shouldn't say it like that because we don't know she's not in it. But, now that there is a potential that there is something bigger on the horizon in which she might not be able to film when they want to film and stuff. I mean, worst case, you could argue that it just prolongs it. It just postpones it, right? Just kicks the can down the road a little bit. But depending on what they do in Scream, 7 and how Scream 7 ends, a lot of talks and rumors about like, oh, is there going to be a cliffhanger? Is there going to be this? Is there going to be that? Right? Depending on how things shape up, there is an argument to be made that like, they might not be able to, wait, 2, 3, 4 years for you to finish doing all the Marvel stuff and doing all those things. And now you're back for the Scream, right? Like, so I don't know. Again, I'm really curious how this is going to play out, but maybe I'll do a video specifically on the Scream concerns because, it's exciting. I am, obviously I grew up 90s kid, grew up with Neve Campbell, Scream franchise, favorite horror franchise, right? So, it's great to see her win. It's great to see her get the opportunities that she's getting. It's great to see her, being able to be cast in an MCU film, right? Because again, I don't know how big of a role she's going to play or what she's going to do, but she's playing a character that I can see her really owning. We know that she can act. We know that she can, adapt and play the parts and whatnot. You're talking about somebody that, again, in the comics is related to the Scarlet Witch and, Magneto's daughter. And, so there are some significance. And this is somebody that's going to be big for, the X-Men fans and the Marvel fans and, obviously Scream fans and Neve Campbell fans and all that. So you have this kind of mixed, diverse of different fan bases that are going to be able to be drawn and come together for Neve Campbell and Sidney Prescott. And that's exciting. It really is, like genuinely. I'm excited to see how this plays out with her and the role. And how does this expand into other MCU roles for her, right? Or is this something where she's just kind of there and then won't be, much longer? But anyway, as always, this is a discussion. Pass a question on you. Let me know your thoughts and opinions down in the comments below. What do you think? How do you feel? What are your thoughts? First off, what do you think of Neve Campbell being added to the MCU? You excited for that? 2, what do you think of her playing the character of Polaris? Is that something that you're excited for? Do you think you want her to play somebody else specifically? I do not want her to be a part of the MCU at all. However you feel. Either way, I'd love to hear it. So let me know down in the comments below. That being said, if you haven't liked this video, hit that like button. Helps me a lot. So we enjoy these types of videos, and I truly appreciate it. Not subscribe channel. What are you doing? Hit that subscribe button. Turn on the bell notifications. Appreciate y'all. See you in the next one. Thank you.